Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. I'm here with my good friend Matthew. Matthew, how are you today,
Good. How you
buddy?
doing, Vlad?
So I want to talk about Trump's coming in. We got a bet on his
20
inauguration.
bucks.
$20, baby. He doesn't think he'll make it in on the 20th. I How about this? The loan that I'm asking for. How confident
That's a big bet.
No, I'm kidding. But you're in a industry where you're all about gold, silver. Everyone else is talking about crypto, everybody else is talking about the stock market, and you're like, those things are great short term, those things are great if we don't got World War III on our doorstep, those things are great if we don't have the deep state worried like they are, and not cornered like they are right now.
True.
But gold and silver is number one. It's biblical. It's the oldest currency in the world, and it's constitutional. Kind of walk me through your thinking and the audience. Why? While everyone else is screaming Bitcoin and stock market, you're saying yes, but also there's something that there's gold and silver too. Don't forget.
Well, it's called diversification first and foremost, right? You want to be diversified, right? So I would never recommend to somebody, hey, put all your eggs in one basket, go into all gold and silver. However, right now may not be the worst place to be. Sure, the crypto space, fantastic. I was fortunate enough to have picked up, some of the Bitcoins, the XRPs, the Cardanos, right? And these have performed it's almost too good to be true. The last, couple weeks, it's up like, they're like 5x right now.
Yep.
A lot of them. Yeah, I mean, I think the crypto space is great. I think it's a good temporary place to keep money. The problem with the crypto space is that, in my opinion, and I know I'm more of the conspiracy theorist mind than you are, right? I think you have a great view on things. I have, similar views, but also different. And that's what I think makes us a great team, right? Is we can kind of look at each other's views and be like, okay, that's interesting. But I think a lot of these cryptos are created by the deep state. I mean, think about Bitcoin. Some Japanese guy that no one's ever heard of, right? You just so happen to create blockchain. It's like, probably want to know, right, who created this thing. It's like, that should be red flag number one, is like, okay, we don't even know who this guy is, Satoshi Nakamoto. Yeah. And then think about the storyline. He decided to give away 800,000 of his Bitcoin just for the greater good of humanity, so that everybody could have a monetary system and it's safe and da-da-da. It's like a liberal, like, virtue signaling story, yes. Right? It's like, the same mentality of like, yeah, let's just let everybody in the country, right? We're just such virtuous people. It's like, when I start seeing stuff like that, I would be very cautious. And there are rumors that Bitcoin was created by DARPA, Defense Advanced Resources Projects Agency, just like Facebook was, right? And Facebook legitimately was. And they make movies about these things to reinforce the narrative. So you got the Facebook movie. Then I look at the exchanges with cryptocurrencies. It's like one of them's owned by the Winklevoss twins, right? They're part of that whole Facebook conglomerate when they first started. So I'm just very skeptical. Take a position, but yes, I do think, Vlad, to your question, gold and silver is going to be there when everything else fails, and they will fail, in my view. The markets will fail because why? You got to get rid of corporations.
Yeah,
you have to get rid of the corporate structures. A lot of people don't know this, but the United States in 1871 was turned into a corporation. Did you know that?
Yep.
So I think what Trump did during his first 4 years was he took the bankrupt corporation, created a republic, or put the foundations of a new republic down, and we're going to hand over this bankrupt corporation with their stock markets, with their cryptocurrencies. We're going to hand it back to them and say, here you go, debt's paid, we're moving on to something else. The only thing left at that point is a tangible asset. That's my case for gold and silver.
Dan Pena said, I believe this was 2019, I Googled it.
Dan Pena, yeah.
Yeah, he said, if you knew who and how evil the creators of Bitcoin truly were, you would sell it all today. And he said, I know who created it. I know who's behind it. I know what they're doing. He's like, I will never invest $1. And I mean, I have some crypto. I don't have a lot, but it was small when everything was really down. I bought a few here, a few there, and making a couple $100 here and there. Nothing big, but it's like, but what the guy? I'm bad with, especially with Asian names.
To Dan Pena's point, I've heard that quote before, and Dan Pena has been around the block. Yeah. I mean, whatever you think of him, I mean, I have different opinions of him, but I mean, his mentor. One of his mentors was Aristotle Onassis. right?
Who's that?
Onassis was the shipping, the worldwide, he ran ships way back in the day, right? Jackie Onassis, she remarried Aristotle Onassis. He had he's Greek. He had that big island in Greece that he owned. That's where JFK Jr. grew up, part of his childhood. Very interesting history there. I would think a guy like Dan Pena probably knows the players in the banking system probably better than most.
Yeah.
Right. He's somebody that coming out, and yes, I would agree with him. If you knew, and who he's probably referring to is DARPA and the whole creation, the whole story behind Bitcoin is that if Bitcoin if Hillary Clinton had won in 2016, Bitcoin would be at $3 million right now, or probably even higher. Why is that? It's because it was probably going to be used as a segue to move us into a digital currency. And I heard on good authority, somebody that we both know, well, you don't know her, but you're going to meet her. But she just told me this maybe a week ago. But she told me that she was hanging out with some of Trump's inner circle as economics people down, I think at Mar-a-Lago. And they told her that they're going to implement the CBDC. So we're coming up for an event where we're probably going to go into the CBDC for at least a period of time, a short period of time. And people are going to see what that's like. And when I listen to guys like Juan O'Savin and these people, and I know you have your disagreements with him, but he's talking about this country going through a near-death experience. It would seem to me that that's got to happen on a financial front, that we all go into the CBDC. And yeah, the cryptos might absolutely spike, and that's great, right, et cetera, et cetera. But at a certain point, you get rid of the central bank digital currencies, and everything else falls by the wayside, right? If you're going to take down the deep state, all these cryptocurrencies, they're probably deep state owned and operated. You're going to have to take them down with it. So again, my case for gold and silver is, yeah, it's not a fancy asset. You're not seeing the price increases like you are a Bitcoin or XRP or any of these things, but maybe take a small position. But gold and silver are what's going to really get you through what's coming down the pike. That's what I think it's about. I think it's about, you got to think in terms of the long game. You got to get through this period of time. And sure, Bitcoin and all these XRP, they all look great because they're all skyrocketing. Tortoise in the hare, my friends, tortoise in the hare.
And I've mentioned this before, right? It's like my parents, grandparents lived through the fall of the Soviet Union, where everything just collapsed, right? And except there in the Soviet Union, they messed up. They had a great opportunity to take out the KGB and the deep state leaders. Well, Vladimir Putin, the same KGB that worked for the Soviet Union, that arrested and killed Christians in East Germany, is now their president. They messed up. They thought they were going to be taken into democracy. They have the same leadership. That's my opinion on it. Right, nothing's changed. There, Sergei Lavrov, Tucker Carlson interviewed him. Sergei Lavrov was the foreign minister under the Soviet Union. Here's one of my big conspiracies that I believe in. The Soviet Union never fell. It rebranded. Soviet Union never fell. They rebranded themselves. They just strategically changed. It's and how Pastor Matt, that we both knew, he said, we have two communists on both sides. He said we have the communism of the East, China, Russia, North Korea, and we have communism of the West. And they're fighting right now for who's gonna run the world. He said they're both evil, they both suck. This is why we need to raise up Christians to run and lead the world with Christian principles. No, we don't go to war. Like right now, Syria, Al-Qaeda and ISIS is killing civilians in Syria, and we're backing it. We are toppling a democratically elected, no matter what you think of the Syrian government, which I don't like the Syrian government. He's killed his own people, but at least they have an election coming up. But right now,
Assad, by the way, a lot of those gassing of his own citizens, that was complete nonsense, by the way. Those are proven. Many of them were proven completely fake, by the way. I just want to be clear on that. And I'm not saying I'm not defending Assad as a good guy. I'm just saying some of the stuff that we heard during the Obama years was complete BS.
I want to introduce you to a buddy of mine who served in the Russian military that time.
He saw it?
He was there.
But but also let me ask you, like, how do you know who's really doing it? You know what I mean? You would have to fool. Okay. It's like I'm open to seeing it either way. I'm not one of these people that's like stuck in my views. Like I almost like changing my views because it means that I've learned something.
Yes.
And I'm onto the truth. These liberals, you talk to these liberals and it's like, they just want to think what they want to think and nothing will, they're just tunnel vision. I want my opinions changed.
What happened was they found out that there was a town that accepted, here's what really happened. They didn't just for no reason gas their citizens. It was a town where Al Qaeda and ISIS were teaching the schools. The kids were being churned into radicals, and he was like, "Let's just take out two generations of terrorists."
All right.
I can't really disagree. I mean, I've met kids like when we went to Kyrgyzstan first time, when I went back to the country I was born in, I was 15 years old. I left when I was 6 to the United States, come back, and it's a Muslim country. By the time they're 10, they're running around with knives, just praying for the day to go and jihad and cut a head off. Here's a great example of when I started, like, really. So when the Russia-Ukraine war started back in 2014, and it was a civil war, there was an airplane flying. I think it was like some Canadian or some European, a bunch of civilians.
Right.
And then it was shot down. And that moment, I was really listening to the Russian news, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's the Ukrainian military." They thought it's a Russian. And so they were going back and forth. We never knew, like, because the Ukrainians are saying the pro-Russian separatists did it. The separatists are saying this. And no matter who you listen, if you listen to this guy, you're like, "Wow, he's right. His facts are great." Listen to this guy, like, the Ukrainians did it. And then I had a buddy who moved here from St. Petersburg, Russia, who used to work for RT, Russia Today. He was one of their correspondents and editors. He lives right now in Chicago. He says, "I had correspondents on the ground in Eastern Ukraine." He showed me the videos he was getting through Telegram. First video was like, "Yeah, we got those." And these were the pro-Russian separatists. And then they're running. They're like, "We got it. It was a bunch of American weapons about to be delivered to them to shoot it." And then they get there. The next one is like, "Oh shit. Like the bodies, where the weapons? Get everyone out of here." And I know for many years, I believed it was the Ukrainians that shut it down. It wasn't an honest mistake. Yeah, but it was an honest mistake that killed almost 300 civilians. So, or when we go to the Assad, now there were many of those gassing. I know of only one that I can confirm, because ISIS and Al Qaeda were really rooted in this mountainous village. And it was just like, even the kids were extremists and nothing but, terrorists that are now toppling the country. For me, I don't care if it's a dictator or not. We shouldn't get involved. It's not a problem. We should stop toppling governments. Ukraine was doing really good until we came in and toppled their government. Yes, they had a pro-Russia president, but there were no wars. Civilians were not suffering. And Bush Sr. in 91 flew to Kyiv, stood in their parliament, and told them, "You guys are going on to this like patriotic what's the word when you're all about your country, nothing else?
Nationalist?
Yeah, he said you're going on your national path is suicidal." He said for over the last 300 years, over 90% of the time, you and Russia were one country. This nationalism of Ukraine, of what you guys are trying to do, is a suicide mission. Don't do it. He warned them. Bush Sr. flew to Kyiv, stood in their parliament, said, "Don't do this. Well, even if you're going to be independent, don't take up nationalism saying we are not them. It never ends good." They didn't take it, right? Then we had our government. Then we had the Democrats under Bill come in and really let the Nazis just go crazy, the Azovs and the right sector.
Yugoslavia, that was during the Yugoslavian war.
Yugoslavia, what we did there was horrible.
Horrible.
But it's like, and then we sit there and then we judge when in Russia they raid gay nightclubs. How can you do that? We support Nazis.
Yes.
You raid them.
It's crazy.
At least they're like, look, because Russia did try the whole gay rights thing and gay prides up until 3 years ago. They're like, let us look at the West and learn. We're done. So, ladies and gentlemen, gold and silver, it's something Matt believes in. I believe in that. I mean, don't get everything out, right? Like you always say, because we still got to pay bills, but protect your money.
It's a great target for retirement accounts, right? With retirement accounts, kind of what makes us different is that we give people, right, as you know, We give people very different storage options, right? We're just a small little gold shop here in Glendale, Arizona. If you call any of these gold companies out there, they're going to send you to they're going to send your IRA or 401k gold to some random depository where it's commingled with everybody else's. Stuff like that. When everybody's doing the same thing, I always feel like, okay, we probably should do it a little bit different. So just, on the topic of gold and silver, just so people have an interest in this stuff and you're thinking about retirement accounts, etc. And this just applies to retirement accounts. If you do a bank wire or sending a check or something like that, that gets mailed to your doorstep regardless. Ship, FedEx, fully insured. But with IRAs, we can have you choose the place where you want to store it. You want to go store it? We have a client right now from your show. She's storing it right down the street at her credit union. It's perfectly compliant, right? So the idea is that you can go and take possession of your gold and silver through your IRA and do what you want with it. Go store it where you want to store it, where you're comfortable, where you have access to it. Because I think with what's coming, with the power shift, that, we're sitting here just speculating. We don't have all the answers. And Vlad's a lot smarter on this stuff than I am. But I could tell you this, is you want to have access to your stuff. You want to make sure that, and that's what makes Verity Metals, my company, more unique than anybody out there, is that we can tailor solutions so that wherever you want to store your stuff, we can accommodate that, and you will be fully compliant with the guidelines. So that's just something that, when you're considering this stuff, just be very careful. Most of these gold companies are out of Los Angeles. These are just call centers. These are just there's no gold or silver in these places. They're just pushy salesmen. They're just interested in getting your business, churning to the next one. We spend a lot of time and attention on your stuff. So just keep in mind, you can always give me a call. We can talk about it A to Z. I'm happy to talk to any of your viewers. These are the world's best people. I love dealing with the Patriots. The Patriots are my people. So I appreciate you guys.
And as a roundup, let me ask you, do you like the Fed? What do you think about big banks? You don't like them? Neither do I. Give them a big punch to the nose by making sure they can't use your money to get rich.
Exactly.
Convert it into something real. That's it. Subscribe.